Hi, I'm Mayor Dwayne Warren, and we're back with our continuing series on spotlighting various departments throughout the city of Orange Township. And so I'm here today with the tax assessor and the tax collector. They play vital roles in our town. I do want to jump into just exactly what they do for our city. Chris Murray, you're the tax assessor. You've been here for a few years, and I get questions from taxpayers all the time about why they pay a certain amount of tax. Um, and that's on you to tell us what taxes we pay, correct?
No. So actually, I just opine value. So what we do is we take a look at the real estate market, see what properties are selling for, and we extrapolate certain data. So then we could do a sales comparison approach and apply value to that particular property based on what properties are selling for.
Okay, so let me just back up then. You don't tell us what taxes we pay.
No, I do not.
You assess the value of each particular home.
Correct.
And do you use current sales and past sales in order to do that?
Current sales. Our assessing date is as of October 1st, pre-tax year. So if we're trying to establish a value for tax year 2023, we're looking at sales up to October 1st, 2022.
So now, in terms of property values, if I sell my property tomorrow for $800,000, do the taxes change automatically?
They do not. We cannot chase sales. That would be spot assessing, and that is illegal. So if we establish that the property is worth $700,000 for that particular tax year, and then it sells for 800,000, you're still locked in at that $700,000 value.
So you don't follow the sale price as it goes up or down. You lock in during the period that you assess.
Correct. But over the course of time, as the real estate market goes up, we start to develop a ratio, but we could apply that ratio to the assessment to get an indicated market value, which kind of equates to what is going on in the today's current market, real estate
Okay.
market.
Now, if there are questions about that process and about that math, you maintain an open door policy.
Absolutely.
How can they contact you if they want to meet with you? What's the procedure to do that?
They could just call me at my office, and the phone number is on the screen.
Okay, and we'll put his email address on there as well. You're open to in-person appointments at this point, or?
Absolutely. We have to go out and inspect the property, so that's the best way to see what the property is worth. So we can take a look at the overall condition, the amount of amenities, what's going on in the neighborhood. Is it next to like a commercial warehouse, or is it in a residential, strictly residential property? Those all things influence the value of the property.
So you encourage being out in the field with
Absolutely.
the residents to really find out what the
Yes.
determinations are.
Mhm.
Very good. Now, when so you get the value, and so how do we know what taxes to pay?
So how they come up with the tax rate, they would take the total rateable base of the city and divide it into the city budget, and then the tax collector would apply the tax rate to the assessment, and that will determine what you pay in property taxes.
Oh, so that formula is calculated by the tax collector.
Correct.
Okay, we'll get to her in a second, Madam Tax Collector. Tell me about people who feel that you have not given the proper assessment or value on their property and they'd like a second opinion. What's the process there?
So they could reach out to me. I'll come out, do a reinspection of the property. We'll go over some sales with the taxpayer. But ultimately, if they want to challenge the assessment, they would have to file an appeal as April 1st of 2023, or any year. The appeal deadline would be April 1st.
So let me just break that process down because it sounds like informally I can contact you as a taxpayer and get you to reconsider and think about it. And if I'm not satisfied, then I can go the formal route of filing a tax appeal.
That is correct.
All right. Now, so that must be done by April 1st
Correct.
of the calendar year.
Correct.
And what does that include?
So what you're trying to do is you're not necessarily challenging your taxes. A lot of taxpayers come in trying to challenge their taxes or what their neighbor pays in comparison to what they're paying. It's strictly market based. So you have to look for comparable sales, similar properties that have sold for less than your current assessment, because you're trying to establish that the assessment is too high.
Okay, so that's what the tax appeal really is. It's really the assessment, because the assessment goes down, then the formula that the tax collector used, it'll bring the tax down.
Correct.
Is there a form to fill out for tax appeals?
Yes, I have that form in my office. So it's the petition of appeal
Okay, now
form.
those forms available online as well?
Yes, they are.
Okay, now if they contact you by email that's on the screen, you're able to communicate or send them a form.
Yes, that's correct.
And is a form filed in this in City Hall?
So you have to file three petitions of appeals. You have to send one to the Essex County Tax Board, one to my office, attention Chris Murray, and one to the city clerk, Joyce Lanier.
Okay, and is there a fee for the filing?
Yes, but there's a schedule. So if the assessment's 0 to 75,000 is free. 75 to 125, you know what? Just exclude that.
No,
Um,
so when I ask is there a fee, you can say it's a graduated scale based on the assessment.
okay, yes,
Okay. So is there a fee for filing the tax appeal?
yes, there is, and it's a graduated scale based off of their current assessment.
Okay, but in some cases, I believe it's the first up to 75,000. The filing fee is free,
That's correct.
and then after that, there's a charge.
Yes,
That charge goes to the county, or does it go to the city?
it goes to the Essex County Tax Board.
Okay, and then once we get to the Essex County Tax Board, what's the procedure after that?
So once the petition of appeal is filed, along with the comparable sales, we'll take a look at it. If there's some room to lower the assessment, we will lower it. But if we cannot come to some sort of agreement based off of the sales, then you put your case on before a county tax board commissioner. And then from there, they'll issue a judgment if reduction is warranted or if it's been affirmed.
And then for that period, it's court action. If you want to appeal up
Correct.
to
And if
Superior
you're
Court.
unsuccessful at the county tax board, you could always take it up to the state tax court level.
Okay. Now, what role do you play in the tax appeal process on behalf of the city?
I am reviewing all of the sales data that is supplied, and also I'll testify to the sales on the behalf of the municipality.
So at a hearing, you're a witness.
Correct.
Okay. So just let me get it straight procedurally, because I know some people don't want to go the full route. They'd rather try to negotiate with you. So you're available for negotiations informally right up front.
Hmm.
After filing a tax appeal, there is still a period in which you can negotiate and try to settle then.
Yes,
And then after that, it goes to the hearing phase.
correct.
In the municipal taxing, the word revaluation always comes up. It's not always a pleasant sounding word to taxpayers. Tell me what that process is. What is the goal of revaluation?
So the goal of the reval is to reassess everyone to current market value, because in the state of New Jersey, we have an ad valorem system. We're taxed based on value. So when we reassess properties, we're trying to make them fair and equitable amongst the residents.
So when you do that, what is the process? How do we get to that? Is there an inspection? Do people come to my home? Can they do it remotely? How does that work?
So historically, it's always been site inspection. So you let the field inspector into the house so he or she can gather data. You know, once again, is the overall condition? Has it been renovated? Is the property in need of renovation? The amount of amenities, and then once they get that information, they could cross-reference that with what's going on in the real estate market. But because of COVID, a lot of the reval firms started to allow Zoom or video inspection. So you just go on with
So
your
the
phone.
resident would video their
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 house.
home,
Correct.
and they'd send that video to the reval company.
Correct.
But just let me back up 1 second. You don't do the revaluation,
I assist in that.
but you supervise an outside agency that comes in to do that.
Correct.
So once the revaluation company has done their inspection process, is their final report issued? What happens at that point?
Yeah. So after the inspection, all the residents in the city will receive a value letter along with what the potential tax impact could be. And then from there, they have informal hearings to go over what was done to determine the assessment.
Now, who presides over that hearing? Is that you, or is that the company, or
It would be
supervisor?
a representative from the company.
And how does that work? Do they go to the homes, or do they set up here in your office where they have these conversations?
So typically it's an off-site location within the municipality. They'll meet with the representative, they'll go over the assessment. If there's any discrepancies, they'll send a field inspector back out to verify and make whatever necessary changes.
Now, you've heard me forward a number of complaints to you about the fact that the reval company say they came, but they really didn't come, or they say they're going to return, they really haven't returned.
Mhm.
What is a homeowner to do to make sure if they want someone to come, What is it that they can do to assure that they get a
They could
visit?
just reach out to me and I'll do the inspection myself.
Okay. Once again, reach out to the tax assessor if there's a reval issue or assessment issue. You can reach out to Chris Murray, who's our tax assessor, at the phone number on your screen, together with the email address that we also issued. Chris, you used the word ad valorem, and we see that sometimes in our tax bill and other things associated with our property taxes. What does ad valorem mean?
It means tax based on value.
Okay, we tax based on value, not on any other consideration throughout the state of New Jersey.
Correct.
That's the standard.
Yes.
Chris, there are a number of people who complain that they pay more taxes than some commercial place or some industrial place. How do you respond to that?
My response is for them to reach out to me. We could review their assessment to make sure it's accurate. And if they feel that it's still too high, they could always challenge the assessment.
Okay, so you will deal with those individual cases as they come.
Correct.
Great. Chris, I do want to harken back to that open door policy because you need to be accessible because you really have people's life savings, their major investment in their lives, in their homes, and you're a part of that. Tell me about your open door policy and your availability to the public.
Sure. I follow your lead. I'm open all the time. I even do weekend inspections, late night inspections, could try to accommodate the residents because they work multiple jobs and it's really tough to take time off from work.
Excellent.
So I can meet with them, on late nights. It's not that big.
There you have it. Contact the assessor, and he can make an appointment around your schedule to get it in. Um, I'm going to come back to you, Chris, in a second, but I do want to speak to our tax collector. Paula, you've been here a number of years. When you came in, you put some accountability measures in place that's really been helpful to your office, and you've increased our collection rate as well. Tell us what the tax collector does.
Well, we are responsible for the collection of the taxes levied on all properties in the city of Orange Township.
Now, when you say taxes levied, that means the amount of taxes that we have to pay.
Correct.
Paula, you've been the tax collector here for a number of years, and I know you've gotten complaints about how high the taxes are. I'm paying more taxes in a commercial place or an industrial place. Break it down for us so we understand in very basic terms. How is it that you establish the amount of taxes that I have to pay? Is there a formula? Is it Paula's number? Where does it come from?
No, it's based off the city's tax rate times the assessed value. The tax rate includes the township municipal government, the municipal open space, the school district tax, Essex County government, library and county open space.
So all of those items that you just listed are portions. So if we take the budget as a pie, the monies that we collect in taxes, 100% do not go to fund municipal operations.
Correct. Correct.
You get a percentage that goes to the Board of Education, a percentage that goes to the county,
Correct.
a percentage that goes to the open space fund.
Correct.
That's a fund to fund the maintenance and upkeep of our parks and public
Correct.
places. And the library gets a portion.
Correct.
And then what's the last portion?
Actually, there's a county open space and there's also a municipal open space.
And so the county open space as well. So all of them get a portion of our tax pie,
Correct.
but we're left with the majority.
Correct.
Now, when I come to pay my taxes, can I pay it cash, check, money order? Can I pay it online?
Yes. You
All
have
those methods of
multiple
payment.
ways. Yes, cash, check, money order, pay online. We have a box downstairs. There's also a box at the police department in case people need to pay their taxes and it's off hours because the box downstairs is only open at 8:30 to 4:30.
And during COVID, you arranged for a secure pickup for some people who really couldn't get out of their homes.
Yes, and we have done that for the elderly. If they can't get out of their car, we will send somebody down to take their check and bring it up and give them a receipt.
Tell me the tax timeline. When do I start to incur a late fee? When do I start to incur a lien? When does my lien start to go up for auction?
Okay, taxes are due the same time every year. They're due February 1st, May 1st, August 1st, and November 1st. You have 10 days grace period to pay without interest,
So I can up to the 11th, I can pay without interest.
up to the 10th
Up
without.
to the 10th without interest.
If it falls on a holiday, then or on the weekend, you will have the following business day to pay.
And that's no interest, no penalty.
Correct.
And then beyond that 10th day, what happens?
You accrue interest, which will go back to the first.
So, and how much is the interest?
8% on the first $1,500 and 18% thereafter.
Wow. So if I pay on the 11th, I have to pay interest on February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all the way up to the day I pay.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
So the interest doesn't start from the 10th day,
Correct.
it reverts all the way back
Correct.
to day one.
Correct.
Is that calculation and that interest calculation communicated to taxpayers?
Yes.
How do we
always.
do that?
Anytime they call or they come in, we explain that to them when they come.
Is
to
that part of
pay.
their tax bill?
Yes, it is on their tax bill, on the front and the back of their tax bill.
Okay. After that period of time, at what point do we have what's called a municipal lien or tax lien attached to our property?
Okay, so we have what's called an accelerated tax sale, which means everything that is delinquent after November 10th is eligible for tax sale. So we encourage all taxpayers to have all of their quarters paid by November 10th.
So if I don't pay my taxes in February, May, and August, I'll have interest and penalty assessed against them,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
But they will not go to the lien status until November.
Right.
And I'm going to try to take a stab at describing a tax lien. A tax lien is when investors pay your taxes for you and they get an interest in the tax lien.
Correct.
And when that happens, they're able to hold the tax lien for a period of time. And at some point, they can convert it through foreclosure and actually take the property.
Correct.
When does that tax lien process begin? Is that in November?
As of November 11th, I will run a report of all the delinquencies, and that's the start of the tax sale process.
And in the tax sale process, it starts out with notice. Do you
Yes.
notice the taxpayer?
Yes, they get 2 notices, and it'll go twice. It'll be advertised in the newspaper twice.
Okay. So is that the only notice they get is in the newspaper?
Newspaper and notices, yes, 2 notices and two
Now,
advertisements.
when you say notices, do we mail it to them?
Yes,
Okay, so
Yes.
taxpayers get a notice by mail and a notice in the newspaper
correct.
that their particular taxes, and you tell them which years and which months taxes,
Yes, yes,
and they're going to be subject to a lien in November.
correct.
And then the actual process of investors purchasing a lien, how does that work?
They bid on the properties. Once they win the bid, then they actually get a certificate of sale, a tax sale certificate, which is just a lien on the property. They're not taking anybody's home.
So you don't get title to the property.
No,
All you get
no,
is a
they-
lien.
Right,
But that person who won the bid, has to pay all the back taxes on that property.
correct,
So as far as we're concerned, everything that property is owed, we've collected.
correct. It makes the city whole.
However, that taxpayer still owes that lien holder.
Right. It also gives the lien holder the right to pay any subsequent taxes that the taxpayer doesn't pay.
But do they have to wait until after the taxpayer hasn't paid it?
Right. So it would be the next quarter, which would be February. After February 10th, the lien holder has the right to pay those taxes on behalf of the taxpayer and have it accrued to their lien at 18%.
So if I don't pay my taxes, and let's say come November, I owe $10,000. A person bids for that lien, and they pay the $10,000 to the city. They now have a $10,000 lien on my property.
Correct.
How can I pay off that lien to have my property free and clear?
Okay. You would email the office. I could give you that email address. And
We'll put that right up on the screen
Yes,
right
okay.
now. Can we also call or just email? You have a
No,
cell
we
phone
need,
number.
we need it in writing. So
Okay.
we tell, if they call, we're going to tell them, we direct them to call, to email.
Can they also appear in person at your office?
First they need to send us the email
Okay.
and they can pay in person. Because we have a process. We have to reach out to the lien holder and get approval because there could be additional fees the lien holder.
And the email that they're going to send you says what?
They need to say who they are, when they would like to redeem, And we will respond back usually between 3 and 5 business days, depending on how soon the lien holder responds to us.
But if you're a dinosaur like me and you don't have
Mm-hmm.
an email, can I write that in the paper and drop it off at your office?
Or they could fax it.
Okay.
Yeah, they could write it on a piece of paper as well. It's just that we need something in writing
Okay.
to prove who is redeeming the lien.
Okay. And let me just jump. Christopher, where's your office located?
We're located on the 3rd floor
In
at
City Hall, 29 North
North
Day Street.
Correct.
Okay. And Paula, you're
On the second
located
floor.
on the second floor of City Hall, 29 North Day Street.
Right.
I get the lien. I then send you a letter to say, hey, I want to what's called redeem my lien or pay it off.
Correct.
And then what do you do at that point?
Then we produce what's called a lien redemption worksheet. We send it to the lien holder, getting his approval for the amounts that we're going to redeem the lien for. In many cases, there are legal fees that may be added or other things that are going on that we're not aware of that they know. That's why we get their approval prior. Once they approve it, we then contact the redeeming party to come in with a certified check, has to be certified funds or cash, to redeem the lien.
And so the redemption amount now will include the amount that I didn't pay in taxes, the 18% on that amount, plus any fees and costs, including legal fees that were incurred by the
Correct.
investor.
Correct.
And then when you get that amount, that's what your lien redemption certificate says. I come in and pay it, my house is free and clear.
Correct.
Sometimes those liens are not repaid in a timely fashion. What is the right of the investor to foreclose on the house at that point?
After 2 years, they can start the foreclosure process.
So if I bought a lien from the city and I've held it for 2 years, I can start the foreclosure process.
Correct.
That includes a foreclosure complaint in Superior Court. That has to be served on the city as well. A notice of it has to be
Yes,
served on the
then
city.
they
as well.
notice everybody. Everyone is noticed. Anyone who has any rights to that property is noticed by mail.
Okay. And then do we still have a role to play during that foreclosure process, or are we out of it?
We pretty much are out of it. The only part we play is if it's being redeemed and we need to add legal fees.
So we're always open to hear from anyone who wants to redeem.
Always, always. We always are.
Okay. When I get a lien, either before it's purchased by an investor, or during the period that it's late, am I able to negotiate?
No, it's statutory and I have no authority to negotiate.
So state law doesn't allow you to
No.
negotiate and reduce the amount
No,
or
they
anything
don't.
else.
They do not.
Does state law allow you to give payment plans?
In certain circumstances, for city liens.
Okay, so for those things, if a person has that kind of circumstance where they may think they're entitled to a payment plan, can they contact you at your
Yes.
cell number on the screen?
Yes.
Very good. And then finally, when the tax assessment comes and I want to challenge the amount of the tax lien or challenge the interest, is there an opportunity for me to do that?
To challenge interest or a tax lien, no.
Okay,
There
so
is none.
that's not part of the tax appeal process or anything
No,
like that.
just your assessed value.
And if I come with a different set of calculations, is your office open to listening and reviewing my calculations and doing a comparison?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And are you forthcoming with notes that you've taken on the file to show a taxpayer, here are the calculations we went by, here's the interest, here's the authority
Yes.
that we've used?
Yes, always.
Now, in the tax appeal process, are you involved in that process at all?
The only part I play is when I get the judgment and I apply it to their property, to the taxes.
So if I challenge the property tax assessment and I get a reduction, the judgment from the tax appeal board will come to you,
Correct.
and it's your responsibility to apply that new assessment to me, which could mean a reduction in taxes,
Exactly, exactly.
or it could mean a taxes stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of complaints about tax collections, about the tax assessment, and it's not always clear to the taxpayer that you really are different entities, that tax collection and tax assessment are different. Tell me how you handle it when customers do come in with that kind of confusion. I know Chris has an open door policy when he's out in the field. How do you handle those kind of inquiries?
Well, I explained to them the process that, um, based off the assessor's assessment, that's how we provide their tax amount. So if there's any issues that they have, they think their taxes are too high or their assessment is too high, it starts with the tax assessor and then it comes down to the tax collector.
Okay. So that there are sometimes we get confusion, and I know you're the focus of it because you're the tax collector, because you're the person we actually give our money to. But sometimes the tax collection process has legal implications, has assessment implications, has administrative implications. How do you handle those when taxpayers come and are seeking answers and guidance?
Well, I have no problem sitting down with them and going over the process. If there's any questions about their assessed value, we could speak with the assessor. If there's any legal implications, we could speak with the law department. I'm open.
So you have all of those available
Yes,
to you to
yes.
explain to taxpayers. What do you do with the tax dollars? When you collect them, what happens? Where's that money go?
That goes to the budget, the city's budget. It runs the city.
So you collect all of the city taxes, and then how do you disperse that money out? Is there a check written over to the finance department? Is there a check written to the Board of Education? How does that work?
The finance department handles all of that.
Okay, so once you collect all the money in, you
Yes.
turn it over to them,
Right.
and then they distribute it
Exactly.
as necessary.
Exactly.
Strangely enough, as a tax collector, you also have something to do with parking and parking meters. Tell me about that.
Well, their funds are collected. They're brought to the tax office.
So not your office doesn't collect the funds from the meter.
Right. Public Works.
Public Works are collected from the
Right.
meter, and then what happens to those funds after?
They are brought to the tax office. We document them, and then it goes to the finance department.
Okay, so you do accounting of the monies that are collected.
Correct.
And then you turn it over to the finance department as well.
Correct.
What other revenue source do you deal with as the tax collector? I know you collect taxes. I know you collect the money from meters. Any other revenue sources?
Water and sewer.
Okay, tell me about that.
We take the payments for anyone who wants to make their payments directly at the city for water and sewer.
Now, in terms of water and sewer, you don't establish those rates. You simply collect the money.
Correct.
So where do you get the information about what amount they should be paying?
Well, it's handled by Veolia.
Ophelia is our water
Yes,
administrator.
yes.
So they would assess the rate. They explain to you what the rate is for that particular property, and then you collect.
Correct.
If payment of water is not paid, what happens at that point?
That also will go to tax sale the same way the tax.
So the same tax lien process, it could be for
Correct.
water and sewer
Correct.
as well.
Correct.
So wow, so you're collecting taxes, you're collecting water and sewer, you're collecting parking meter money. What other revenues do you collect?
That's it. That's it.
And all those monies are turned over to the finance department.
Correct.
I've gotten a lot of questions from students who are finance students and interested in possible internship opportunities. How do you handle those?
Oh, if I would be more than happy to have somebody come in the office and, assist, I would instruct them and teach them. I think that would be a great opportunity.
Great. Internship opportunities for college students that are out there for both the assessor's office and the tax collection office, a good place to learn business and how to handle revenue. Please contact Paula and Chris at the numbers on the screen or the emails on the screen for those opportunities. Paula Ferreira, who is she?
I've been working in municipal government for 23 years. The last 13 years as a tax collector. Before that, I was working as a purchasing agent. Before here, I came from the city of Trenton, which is a larger scale than Orange, but has similar issues, so I felt comfortable coming here. And, I'm working diligently to move Orange forward.
In terms of being a professional tax collector, it's not a position you can just walk into or apply for. You have to be qualified. What are the qualifications?
Correct. There are 3 courses that Rutgers provides, tax collection 1, 2, and 3. And once you pass those 3, then you have to sit for the state exam, which is 2 parts, a theory part and a calculation part.
And then you issue a license after that?
Yes,
And then you're eligible to run a tax collection.
correct. And then you have to get continuing education units every 2 years.
So you're going to school constantly,
Correct.
learning updates and so
Yes.
forth. Tell me briefly about software. Is there a particular software that you have to be trained for, or is it is it the old school? You just collect the money, count it, and pass it on, or is there software you
There's
use?
about a half a dozen different software, tax collection softwares, in New Jersey. We use Edmunds. It's every town's different. I used First Bite in Trenton, so when I came here, I had to learn a different software,
Okay.
and they do work very differently. So there is definitely a learning curve.
And the online payment process, is that something that we inform residents about as well?
It's on our tax bills, when we speak to them on the phone, when they come in person. We've sent letters out, and we do encourage people to pay online.
Very
We
good.
really do.
Chris, how do you get qualified to be a tax assessor in the
So
state of New Jersey?
in the state of New Jersey, it kind of parallels the tax collection process. You have to be in the field for at least 4 years as an appraiser. Then you have to sit for the CTA exam. There's an administrative and an appraisal part. Once you successfully pass both at the same time, they'll issue you your CTA license.
Very nice. Very nice. And you've gotten all those
Yeah.
licenses.
It's very difficult.
You've been qualified. You did some field work as well in other towns.
Correct. I worked for a reval firm for about 4 or 5 years, and then I went to Maplewood, was the assistant assessor, passed my CTA, became the deputy tax assessor for Maplewood, and then saw an opening here and came here.
Very good. There you have it, the tax assessment and collection process in the city of Orange Township. Please, I encourage you to take advantage of the information that was given, the contact information. If you have any follow-up questions, of course, my number is on the screen. You can call me if there's a segment of this particular interview that you find interesting or that you found was missing. Please contact me. We'll certainly follow up to make sure you're as fully informed as you can be. Lady and gentlemen, thank you for your time and your efforts.